Okay, let's jump right into this explainer. We're going to be looking at the agonizing, tension-filled moments right before the most famous assassination in human history. So in Act 2 of Shakespeare's Julius Caesar, the conspiracy is fully hatched and the knives are, quite literally, drawn. But there is this fleeting, agonizing window of opportunity where the whole thing could actually be stopped. It's an absolute masterclass in pacing that creates this suffocating ticking clock. Let's break down exactly how that suspense is built.
Caesar, beware of Brutus. Take heed of Cassius. This chilling warning drops us right into the deep end of the conspiracy, setting up the ultimate ticking clock. Artemidorus isn't some slick politician or an assassin, you know. He's a rhetorician who has somehow unearthed the single most dangerous piece of intelligence in all of Rome. He's just standing there in the street, fully intending to hand this exact letter to Caesar as he passes by on his way to the capital. It is a desperate single point of failure lifeline.
Now, just moments before Artemidorus takes to the streets, we get this brutal gut punch of an interaction. Caesar warmly invites the conspirators in to drink wine, completely oblivious to what they're planning. He smiles and says, "And we, like friends, will straightway go together." But listen to Brutus's internal agony right after that. That every like is not the same, O Caesar. The heart of Brutus yearns to think upon. It's incredible dramatic irony. Caesar is toasting to genuine friendship, while Brutus is silently choking on the fact that acting like friends definitely isn't the same thing as actually being them.
When you look at Artemidorus' letter, especially comparing the original text to a modern translation, it hits you. This is basically a literal whistleblower document. Earlier in the story, all the warnings Caesar gets are these mystical riddles and omens, right? Like the famous "Beware the Ides of March." But here, Artemidorus completely abandons the poetry. He translates this shadowy, vague threat into plain, urgent, undeniable data. He is not messing around.
And he gets terrifyingly specific. The letter explicitly names the 8 key conspirators: Brutus, Cassius, Casca, Cinna, Trebonius, Metellus Cimber, Decius Brutus, and Caius Ligarius. Seeing them all listed out like this just lays bare the overwhelming, highly coordinated odds currently stacked against Caesar's life. Artemidorus exposes the entire web of the conspiracy, who to watch, who to avoid, all on one single piece of parchment.
Artemidorus also goes on to offer this really profound psychological insight into Caesar's fatal blind spot. He says security gives way to conspiracy. And in this context, that security is actually the overconfidence born out of having absolute power. It's a timeless leadership trap, honestly. It's not just the fact that Caesar has enemies, it's that his own arrogant belief in his invincibility is the very red carpet allowing those enemies to get close enough to strike in the first place.
He reinforces this danger by warning that there is but one mind in all these men, and it is completely bent, meaning turned with lethal, singular intention against Caesar. There's absolutely no infighting or division among the conspirators at this moment. They are a laser-focused, unified front. And against a distracted, overconfident leader, that kind of singularity of purpose is incredibly deadly.
So the whole crucial point is perfectly summarized in the closing lines of Artemidorus' soliloquy. "If thou read this, O Caesar, thou mayest live. If not, the fates with traitors do contrive." Caesar's survival has literally been reduced to a coin toss between a physical piece of paper and the inescapable fates. Think about the sheer absurdity of that for a second. The entire trajectory of the Roman Empire, and honestly Western history as we know it, rests entirely on whether a guy decides to read a piece of mail handed to him on his morning commute.
Okay, shifting gears a bit. While Artemidorus is out on the public streets trying to rewrite history, Scene 4 pulls us behind closed doors to show us the devastating collateral damage this ticking clock is causing. Outside Brutus's house, his wife, Portia, is dealing with the terrifying reality of what her husband is about to do. This whole scene gives us a masterclass in psychological tension, showing the brutal private cost of a massive public betrayal.
Just listen to the sheer panic in Portia's voice here. "O Constancy, be strong upon my side. Set a huge mountain 'tween my heart and tongue." Portia is completely buckling under the psychological weight of her husband's secret. You know, she had previously begged Brutus to confide in her, but now that she actually possesses this incredibly dangerous knowledge, the burden is just crushing her. She's desperately pleading for a metaphorical mountain to keep her from physically blurting out the assassination plot to everyone walking by.
Which brings us to a deeply poignant realization she has about her own limitations. She says, "I have a man's mind, but a woman's might." She totally acknowledges her own sharp intellectual capacity to understand the plot, her man's mind, but she agonizes over her physical and societal powerlessness to actually intervene, her woman's might. She is forced to just wait in the dark while her husband risks his life and the entire state. It brilliantly highlights how violent political turmoil always bleeds right into the domestic sphere.
And this agonizing internal panic? It totally manifests in a series of chaotic, completely contradictory instructions to her poor, confused servant Lucius. First, she demands he run to the capital. But wait, she completely forgets to tell him why. Then she admits she wants him there and back before she even has a plan. Finally, after Lucius practically begs for some clarification, she tells him to just look at Brutus and see who is standing near Caesar. We are literally watching a highly intelligent woman completely short-circuit due to overwhelming stress. As the clock ticks down to the Ides of March, we are met with the desperate hope of Artemidorus and the sheer, unfiltered terror of Portia. Now, obviously, we all know history. We know that daggers eventually find their mark. But the genius of this act is that it forces us to live in that agonizing what if. It leaves us with a really provocative question to chew on. If you possess the secret to a world-altering catastrophe, would you actually have the power to stop it, or would you find out that history is just a freight train that cannot be derailed by a single piece of paper? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Definitely keep this in mind the next time you watch a political thriller unfold.